Back in January of 2007, Marcia and I were going over our financial books, looking at budgets, and we realized that my provision as a letter carrier in South Florida was not going to make it. But we looked at the realities of a budget and we realized we needed to talk to God about it. So we prayed for 3 or 4 weeks about it, and we thought, God, how are we going to be able to make it down here in South Florida with the insurance prices and everything rising? February 27th, I was at work in the morning at the post office, and I called home during break time, and one of my girls told me that Marcia, my wife, had taken my son Andy to the Memorial Walk-In Clinic over near Pines Boulevard, and he had kidney stones. So I asked the supervisor, could I go home or could I go and see him? And she said, okay. So I took off in my little minivan, was heading east on Miramar Parkway between Douglas and Palm, and I started getting a chest pain. It was a gallstone. And anybody that's had a gallstone knows how painful that can be. I felt pressure in my chest, and I decided I would pull over in a turn lane. So I pulled over in the left turn lane. I was going to turn off the van and then remove my seatbelt to lessen the chest pain. Well, I did things the opposite way. After I pulled in the left turn lane, I loosened the seatbelt and immediately was unconscious. Wheels were cocked, so I headed eastbound in the westbound lane and hit a school bus head on. Thankfully, no school children were hurt, but I went through the windshield and my head was peeled from the eyebrows on up about 8 inches, and that's why I have no worry lines right in the middle of my head. My wife said I got a free plastic surgery. But not only that, but as the airbag deployed, my knee was totally broken into 8 pieces, and my left arm was broken in 2 places. The worst part was the bleeding from the head, though, but God, in His manner of grace, saw that I was only 500 feet from the fire rescue station. Had I been a mile, they said I would have bled to death. So we have praise that God delivered me out of that bad situation there. So eventually I was taken to Memorial Regional Hospital, and I stayed there 3 weeks. And the doctors were great. They stitched me up. They performed surgery on my knee, and although it looks like a gun inside my leg when they x-ray it, thank God I've learned to walk with it. But that's not my story, totally. You see, God in His good grace had so much going on for me that I didn't know right away. Because on February 26th, the day before my accident, my wife Marcia started a fast and a prayer to see how God would answer my request for my provision. God sat me down for a number of months and said, it's not about your provision, it's about my provision. I just have to say, God gives you people for your life, and through every step of the way of rehabilitation, recovery, and return to work, God had people, whether it was our fellow homeschoolers, whether it was co-workers that donated leave, whether it was people from my mail route that took up a collection to help us pay our bills, or even people at church gave money toward us. And we were just thrilled that God showed His hand and His provision with a purpose. And the purpose was to glorify Him. And so we have nothing to take away from that experience except saying, it's all about God. It was never about us to begin with. It was always about God's provision in our lives. So it helps us to lean and rest and know that He'll take care of you in the storm. And I'm thankful God did that for me by moving people's hearts. And I want to be in the position someday to do exactly what those people did, to support community wherever it is, to support community, because everyone has different needs at different times. I just wanted to thank God for my wife, Marcia, because she is God's greatest provision that He's given me for my life. And she helped me weather that storm as well. Thank you.